every vet goes through this, especially right after vet school. Mm-hmm. You graduate like, yes, let me get into my career and start working. And then you get out and practice and you're like, oh God, what antibiotic do I grab for this? And is this the right thing to do? Is this the right recommendation? Or is this yourself. You're just gonna doubt yourself right off the beginning.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Vet Reset. I'm Dr. Sandra Siegel.
And I'm Dr. Whitney Terrell.
Whitney, today we're going to be talking about tackling imposter syndrome and the effect it has in veterinary practice.
Yeah.
This is something that I feel like is really important to talk about, and we'll go through what imposter syndrome is, what it can look like in practice, what it might feel like, and really talking about that if you're feeling some of these things, you're not alone. And we'll talk about the importance of culture, which I think we've talked on a couple other episodes, touched on culture. And we'll chat about boosting self-esteem and team bonding.
Yeah, ways we can tackle it.
Yeah. So let's take a step back and understand what imposter syndrome is. Have you ever doubted your own skills and feel like you doubt your successes and feel like that you're not as talented or worthy as others see you, and that someday it's going to be found out that...
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think every vet goes through this, especially right after vet school. You graduate like, yes, let me get into my career and start working, start finally actually maybe earning a living. And then you get out and practice and you're like, oh God, what antibiotic do I grab for this? And is this the right thing to do? Is this the right recommendation? Or is this the right, you're just going to doubt yourself right off the beginning. If you don't, congrats, you're one of the few. But no, I think it's something that comes probably with every profession. But when you have so much being, put on you as the veterinarian, I think it can definitely be a lot to combat. I remember my first job out, how much I did feel imposter syndrome and didn't feel necessarily good enough or like I was doing the right thing. Especially for me, a lot of it was with maybe some large animal stuff because I still hadn't become very fluent in it, and it was very sporadic when it would come in.
Right.
So I think that everyone's going to hit that. What about for you? Do you remember
definitely
feeling that way?
Definitely, like coming out of school and like thinking, it's this weird thing. It's like, all this stuff. I went through vet school, went through internship, and like you feel like you can take on anything. And I would say it's like moments too. It's not like it necessarily always is there. You might go through like moments of it too. I think even as an established professional, you go through those moments, and I think it's a sort of growing phase of that. And I think it's important to recognize it because, according to the American Psychological Association in 2021, they had reported that studies show up to 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their careers,
and that's just people in general.
That is
right?
People in general. Yeah. So, and I know that as veterinarians, we're more sensitive to things. So I would be interested to see what the numbers would be in the vet world. But yeah, definitely, like I've personally felt that. I know a lot of my friends have felt that, and at different times in our careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of that too with the veterinary community is knowing if I mess up, there's a really good possibility I'm going to be blasted on social media or Google reviews and whatnot. And then you don't want that to blow back on your practice. So there's a lot of pressure that I think we put on ourselves as vets that, yes, I mean, we've got to deal with those things, but we kind of let it overwhelm us. And that's where the doubt comes
Right.
in. I'm not good enough. Am I making the right decision? Should I pass this off to someone else?
Right.
Because we've just got so much pressure and we're not using the tools to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to talk about and recognize that it is common. I mean, 70% of people, that's a lot. And it's not a reflection of one's abilities, but it's something it's more of like an internal sort of battle that I think we all need. We all face at some point.
Have you seen the video? There's a very good video. I don't think it's a commercial, but there's this group of strangers and they're asked to draw a portrait of themselves. Oh, and it's like you're finding your flaws and you're like, oh, my ears are big or my hair's frizzy and stuff. And then the strangers that, other people are seeing them and are drawing a picture, and the pictures are drastically different. And that just shows that what we may be feeling about ourselves is not what other people are seeing. It's just what we are the pressure that we're putting on ourselves.
What you're focusing on, like being
those negative, feelings.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that and not feel like, oh, there must be something wrong with me that I'm feeling this way. And like, try to sort of break that cycle of feeling that way so that you're not getting further and deeper into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really big part of that is how oftentimes we feel isolated. And whenever we feel like we're the ones having to make those really big decisions, if we don't have a mentor to talk to about it, especially when first starting out, or we don't have someone to just share our experiences with, we can become isolated and then think negatively about our own capabilities. And so finding a place that has a culture to where you can discuss cases, you can talk about hardships, or especially mentorship, and having someone that you can look up to and bounce things off of will help you improve your thoughts about yourself and learn and maybe take little pointers and have strategies on how to best combat that.
Yeah, I think that's really critical. It's like not being constantly in your own head about it, and having someone to like hold up a mirror and be like, no, this is you. These are things that you're not seeing, and this is what I see in you. Yeah. Back to your example of the picture, drawing the pictures. Yeah. So I think that's a really great tip to make sure you have that person that you can go to as a mentor. Absolutely. Also to grow and go over cases, go over what maybe what you should do on something, what you should have done on something, and just grow from those, and really feel like not keeping it to yourself and keeping separating yourself and feeling like you have to just keep putting up this front or whatever.
And I think that it's a big point to where, yes, it's always good to have a mentor in the field, another veterinarian to talk to and look up to in your practice. In my practice, my office manager is like that for me. She's very supportive. And if ever I am thinking super negatively about myself or my skills, she is there to give me a boost and tell me it is okay. Yeah. You are human. Shake it off, go take a break and come back and you're okay. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. Because it really means a lot, and it's super important to have somebody on your team to boost you up. Yeah.
I had that also with my practice manager and some of my head techs that they're just, you have to be there for each other through all of it. There were times where, my practice manager would hear an earful of things, and have to carry that. And so it's, being able to talk it through and just to have that person that is your cheerleader and really kind of the one that helps jolt you out of that phase that you go through. Yeah. And I think it's important to, there's a fine line between the that self-doubt that then turns into like more serious things and makes you feel like you're in that like imposter syndrome cycle. So it's important to just break that cycle. Let's talk about how to build self-esteem and confidence, and maybe bringing this back to team healthy culture and things that can really help each individual, but also as a team.
Yeah. Well, I think being in the right place is a huge part of it.
Yeah, the right fit for you.
Yeah,
right.
You really want to find something or somewhere you feel comfortable, to where you can be yourself, where you can talk with others. You have that support team. You don't want this toxic environment, this toxic culture, cattiness, talking behind each other's back. You want everyone to be supportive. Now, you're always going to have little, squibble squabbles every now and then, but to be able to, at the end of the day, know that everyone is there for each other and going to try to lift each other up, have each other's back is a really big thing. Something else that I think a lot of vet students need to kind of get in their head, because I know when you come out, you're nervous, you may be very reluctant to do or try certain things, but do it. Yes, you are taking a risk, and yes, it is something new and you're getting used to it. Be upfront. I can't tell you how many times I have told clients, look, I can try this, because they couldn't afford referral.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I haven't done this before, but I can try.
Yeah.
And I can do it for a discounted, rate. And there's a good chance that it's not going to be successful, or, there's not going to be a good outcome for the patient. But I am willing to try if you are willing to try. And I can't tell you how many times that we've done that and been successful, and the clients are, over the moon, elated. And so even though it can be scary, it's okay to take risk and it's okay to try new things. And that's what I hope vet students today learn, because even though we are becoming more of a niche market with veterinary clinics, to where thankfully we have a lot of referral centers now and specialties, not everybody can afford that. Right. So being able to give owners the option of, if you have nowhere else to turn to, I'd like to try for you.
Yeah, I think that's important. And that coming from that then is like the growth and confidence. And I think even, your team seeing that and being a part of it too, like working with you and doing those procedures and things, that I think really helps the entire team grow. Also.
Absolutely. And if you have a team member that is not on board, you need to say something about it. I remember I had this big surgery, and this huge splenic mass that was, a third of the size of the patient. And, you're opening it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still it's still the mass. It's still going. Like, where can I stop my incision? And the assistant was just like, oh, this dog ain't gonna make it. It's not gonna do well. I said, yes, it is. You get those negative vibes out of here. We are thinking positively. Right. We, are having all the good thoughts, because I truly believe that if we really, obviously there's some things that you cannot help, but if you put in those positive vibes and good attitudes to make something happen, it really can. Yeah. And before those big procedures, I do the superhero pose.
Yes.
Yes. That's a good way to just be like, you kind of sit there, you meditate, you're like, I can do this. Yep. That's a big way for me.
I love that one. Yeah, I do that before talks and things like that.
Yes.
Got to do the superhero pose.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely.
And if you guys doubt us, just try it.
Yeah. It works.
Yes, it does work. I think it would be really interesting to talk about a little bit more into the culture piece. And, you and I have had experiences and also talked about getting to know your team on a different level and doing like a personality type or preferences typing for your team members, and taking the time out to do that, to understand. I think it, so what I'm talking about is whether it's Myers-Briggs, Insights, Working Genius, any of those types of, there's many of them, whatever you guys feel like resonates with your teams. Have a look at some of these resources where you do these assessments. They're sometimes pretty, some of them are longer than others, and get deeper, but have your team do these assessments, and then you can understand where each team member is in these assessments, since you understand their preferences, how they like to be spoken to, or how they give them feedback. And I think it's really helpful to understand where the other person's coming from, and try to promote a good culture in that way, that we're listening, we're trying to communicate right, and giving people what they are personally needing. Absolutely.
And I think that's a big part of, feeling like an imposter, is maybe how, people are talking to you. And so you don't want to make your team members feel like they're being the imposter, that they're not good enough, when you know that they are.
Yeah. And it sometimes might be completely inadvertent. Like you don't even know, like, and the way they want to receive something is in a different way that you could just shift really easily.
Yeah. And like you said, there's a lot of different tests and assessment tools, yes, out there. I am obsessed with the Enneagram, which is 9 different types, and it is based on your core fears and your core beliefs, and I love that one. But I'm actually
have to do that one.
Yeah, it's good. You should do that one. I feel like it's the most accurate one out there.
Okay.
I've done, I think it's called DISC, but I've also done the Insights, which I had so much fun with, and I actually brought back to our practice, and I had like a little note card, and so I was trying to like very quickly judge and see like where everyone would fall on this color wheel.
Like ahead of time, you mean?
Well, when I got back, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this real quick. So did that, and it was funny like how everyone seemed to really fall. I was like, okay, which one sounds like you? And but it was very helpful for me, because it helped me realize they perceive things and respond to things in a much different way than I do. And where some people prefer data and numbers, and this is what you're doing, these are your numbers, here you go, great job, to where other people just need feelings and support, and like, hey, they need to hear thank you, or whatever. And then some people don't care about that, and they're like, well, I'm just doing my job. So getting to know those differences and how everybody responds differently to constructive criticism, or whenever a client's being yelled at, to know, well, they can, like, obviously no one enjoys it, but they can handle this type of interaction, especially if you're going in knowing it's probably going to be a tough one, that they can handle this okay, whereas our other assistant may not be able to handle that type of situation very good. So let's put this person in a room with them.
You touched on a piece of feedback, which I think is really, really good, but also the thank you piece, where it's like how people receive recognition. I think that through that you can learn how people like to receive recognition, and not everyone's the same. Like,
that's true.
Not everybody wants to have like the big presentation on stage. Some people want like a little note, quiet, or like, or maybe it comes from the practice owner or something like that. So it's definitely everyone's different in how they like to receive that.
It's very true. And I think finding out how people prefer to be talked to, whether it's criticism or praise, is important. But I also think that no matter what, even though this is our career and these are our jobs and we're doing a job, I think it's important to say thank you. And can you please do this for me? It's something that not everybody maybe feels that way, but when you're in a career that is emotionally very difficult and very hard on everyone that works there. Those little things matter.
Yeah.
And I think they can make a really big difference in the team culture and people enjoying coming to work. Because if you know that you're appreciated, that's a place that you want to be. But if you never get that, you know, that recognition, you never get that thank you for doing this, that's hard to keep coming in every day
and keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be big.
No.
It doesn't have to be like, you know, the big lunch or something. Those are nice to do, but just the little thank yous I think are really important. And, you know, and having it be timely, like great job on getting that vein. That was awesome.
Be specific.
Yeah. No one else could get it. You got it. Well done. So I think it seems like a little thing, but I think that goes a really long way.
And that can mean the world to that person, especially if they need that type of recognition to make themselves understand that they are worth what they're doing and that they are needed and important and valued. So doing little things like that can help your team members get rid of their imposter syndrome.
Yep. And also I think, you know, there's individual, you know, celebrations and wins and thank yous, but also like team wins, like doing like a clinic, you know, recognition of a win that, or even celebrating like something that like a group of like a team did on a certain, you know, surgery or something like that, and have the entire hospital celebrate that, and you know, just really building that morale for the team, I think is so important.
Absolutely.
Whitney, do you have an example of someone that you know of that was really battling imposter syndrome and maybe what brought them out of it, or something that happened with them?
So we have, typically in our practice, we're a very small practice, and I mean, less than 10 people at our practice, including myself. And so you kind of learn how to do it all, but typically when the ones that rotate or turn over a little faster is the kennel position. And so typically people will start from the kennel position and then maybe work their way up to vet assistant and so on and so forth. And then hopefully you'll find a licensed vet tech sometime. But we had one girl that started in the kennel and she's doing really well in there. And we were needing to find another veterinary assistant. And we had asked her, and initially it was like, oh no, I don't know if I want to do that. You know, it's that doubt. It's, I don't know if I
don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily that she didn't want to, but she doubted herself. And now, today, she is a great veterinary assistant. She finally gave in, and we talked to her about, look, you know, just try. If you don't like it, then, you know, you can stay in the kennel and do that. But she started coming up, and one of the biggest things is she's so good at client communication, and she's very kind, and she works really well with the clients. And then the pets also really like her as well. And now she's hopefully going to be going through a veterinary technician program.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know. I was like, and I've talked to her before. She decided, and I said, do you know if you would like to further your veterinary career, and have you thought about looking into, you know, becoming a licensed vet tech? And she said that she never really thought about it when she first started working with us. But now she feels like this is what she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think it goes a lot to say with our practice, with how we really try to support each other and pick each other up and encourage each other to push those boundaries, and to, even if you're a little afraid, we've got your back and we can help you if you fall. Yeah. And we'll help you get back up.
I think it's really critical to like see the things in others and in your team that you can like you see the little,
you see
like
the potential,
the talent. And they may not see that at all. And then, I've had that too, where you bring it up, you bring something up with a technician and they're like, I don't think I can, you know, like they're surprised. Like, and they don't think they can do it, and they're like, well, let's try and let's do it. And then they're like the pro of the hospital, you know? So it's, I think it's, you know, taking those moments and like noticing, and you may notice them, but not say anything.
Right.
And so I think the awareness of needing to say something to your team members is a big deal. And that will then just get in the you'll get in the habit of doing that more and looking out for each other and being that support for each other.
Do you have any examples of either overcoming imposter syndrome or just how the culture at a practice can play such a big impact in that?
Yeah, in some of the teams I've worked in particular my first team that I got the honor to work with, I came into a hospital that was being sort of, the leadership was being kind of flushed out, and they wanted to bring a new leadership in, a new culture. And so being part of that was hard on everyone because they were so used to the way the culture was before, and it was quite negative. And so they had had some of those people leave the practice, and so we had to really revamp everyone's thought of how things would go. Like you have to kind of erase, like, this is how we always did it.
Yeah.
And
that can be really hard.
Yeah. And then bring in, like, this is how we are going to do it. And I think what a key to that was being consistent and like, repeating the things, you know, and not letting it slip back into sort of the old ways. Yeah. And you know, that I think this particular team the people that were in there, the vets that were there before were very negative. And so it was almost like they were gun shy. They were like waiting to get yelled at. And so it was like a sort of a recovery of all of that. And I think through that consistency and like really, you know, pointing those things out with them and making like reinforcing that positivity and the thank yous and the great job, and you can do this, you can do that, I'm going to teach you how to do it. It really it really turned them around, and they were my favorite people to work with. So it was a really awesome team. I miss them a lot. So so I think that's something that is really critical, like to be able to have that consistency and like show that it's, you know, the thank yous are every day, and it's not like here and there and up and down and not there the next day, but you try to be consistent.
Yeah. I think it's important having that good team culture and knowing that your team is there for you even when you're doubting yourself, and that you're there for them when they're doubting themselves. And just being supportive is huge. And I think, you know, there just needs to be more kindness in the world. And so just being there
is kind of a general thing. I think is a good thing to point out.
So, and unfortunately not everyone is kind, and we often experience that aspect of people's emotions. And so just being there for each other, lifting each other up, encouraging each other to, you know, push the boundaries and to give it your best and do what you can is the way to go. Thank you for joining us here on the Vet Reset. We hope our discussion today shed some light on the all too common issue of imposter syndrome and provided some valuable strategies to overcome those self-doubts, because you are more than capable and deserving than you might believe.
If this resonated with you, please consider subscribing and following us on social media. We appreciate your feedback, so feel free to leave us a rating, a comment, and keep this conversation going. Don't forget to share this episode with other veterinary friends who are eager to learn and grow.
Remember, it's common to feel like an imposter, but it's crucial to acknowledge your expertise and the positive impact you make every day.
You belong in this profession, and it's okay to take a moment to reset, reaffirm your abilities, and reignite your passion for veterinary medicine.